Welcome back to episode 61 of the Statue of Liberty, and obviously the P.S. Gilmore's story and his role within the development of the statue. And we're at part 2. So, from a lovely sunny Ireland, here is this story been told in more detail than you probably ever realised. Here's the plaque. It was a gift to the people of the United States from the people of France, and the statue was entitled Liberty Enlightening the World. And so we're going to look at this story, and particularly a man that's mentioned here, Auguste Bartholdi. He was a sculptor. And the complete story of the Statue of Liberty. The Liberty statue wasn't unveiled until 1886. So, how did it come about, and why was it placed in the Hudson, in New York, and in America? Here's the designer again, Auguste Bartholdi. And it really all started in 1855. When Bartholdi went with a number of sculptors to Egypt and to the site of the new proposed Suez Canal, and a shortcut for shipping to go from the Mediterranean to the Far East without having to venture down to the Horn of Africa. And an idea came to him that he would place a statue like this one. This is a Muslim lady. I'm not quite sure of her name, but there are various similarities between her and the eventual Statue of Liberty. She's a Muslim lady, and she's radiating power from her head, she's wearing a veil, which would be in keeping with the culture. And that was supposed to be placed at the entrance to the Suez Canal. And that trip that Bartholdi made was in 1855, roughly 31 years before the statue eventually found its final home in New York. In 1858, Ferdinand de Lesseps, the engineer, a Frenchman, I believe, he was designing the Suez Canal, and through the various engineering problems that it would have, and so on, and the costs of the Suez Canal escalated rapidly. And basically, the idea of the Lady Liberty going to the Suez Canal also became diluted very rapidly as well. And they couldn't afford it. So where else could they, if you like, sell it to? And just a second ago there you saw the hand of the statue coming to Philadelphia. And that was 1876. And they were building it in modules. And by 1878, we see the head of the statue has been developed as a result of basically getting some income from Philadelphia and from the customers in Philadelphia and the interest in Philadelphia in this project. And this head of the statue sat outside the Trocadero Palace in Paris in 1878 for the Paris Exposition. It was a world exposition of all things industrial and cultural throughout the world, including Gilmore's band, who made the very first trip of any American band to Europe. And so as this is happening, they're praying almost in France. The project is been funded with local funds, they're having basically collections to keep the project going. There isn't a huge amount of interest worldwide in the project, and eventually there is, and in America there was no money still after the Civil War. Ulysses S. Grant or any of the government officials at the time had no money in the coffers for such a project as this to buy it. And what the French government did was basically, please take it off us, and we will be delighted. And here's a picture of a completed statue in the streets of Paris before it was disassembled and brought straight to New York. And you'll see that in a second. And the project was finished. And so, for instance, the power radiating out of the head of the previous design, the Muslim lady, that now becomes if you like, the power that would radiate from the statue to all immigrants as they came on the shores of America itself. And so they still had problems. For instance, it dawned on someone in New York at the time that they needed a pedestal to build this basically IKEA type statue. You put it together in pieces. And they needed a pedestal. And that pedestal, they had no money for it. So, for instance, here was a concert in aid of the statue pedestal in 1884. And on the opening night, Gilmore's band played at that event. And what was bigger than the actual concert and the money raised at that concert was the fact that when someone like Gilmore would come on board and support such a project, then the average folk would say, well, if Gilmore thinks this is okay, we're going to support it as well. And suddenly the fund started developing, and they started developing the site on Bedloe Island. And as the boats would come to Manhattan Beach, they had an additional attraction you see at the bottom of this advertisement, the Bartholdi Statue of Liberty. No delays and no dust. Now, the dust doesn't refer to the Bartholdi statue, it refers to the dust that you would experience if you were on the trains, but it just goes to show you how this project developed. And in 1884, they reached an agreement with the people in New York and whoever else that they would ship this over in containers. And one of the containers obviously held the torch, and access to this torch was very, very limited. I think a single ladder up the arm. And here's the foot of the, I think it's the right foot, and over on the right-hand side of your photograph is the left foot. And on neither that I can see are there any chains. So that may have been an additional, if you like, modification. And behind is the torch, or part of the torch itself, and gives you an idea of the size of the actual model itself. Here's the pedestal, America's contribution, and that is fact. America put it together, and it was a great feat and a great torch for all future immigrants arriving in America to see that welcome face of the Statue of Liberty waiting patiently for their arrival. So next week we're going to look at the unveiling of the statue, and I hope you've enjoyed this it tells the story, as I said, that has been to some degree ignored before. So, click subscribe and like, and I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you. Bye now.